Welcome everybody, KD here with another tutorial, this time about how you can export 3D meshes, animations, skeletal meshes from Blender and import it to Unreal Engine 4. So first, I didn't want to do this tutorial because there are a lot of tutorials about this out there, but it's something that comes up over and over again, so I just thought I will do a short tutorial. The first thing you have to do when you start Blender is to change your unit. Default is unit presets, and what we want is centimeters because Unreal Engine also uses this unit. And then we have this correct, so now you see that the size completely changed. Let's delete this mesh, let's just add a new one. It doesn't matter. Cube. And now you see when we go big, we have this problem that you don't see it anymore. We can change this here, clip start 1 millimeter, and let's just get a high number, 1 kilometer, and now we don't have this problem anymore. I will also just, so you see that we also can upload materials. I will just add a material here, give it a different color. So now how to export your first I show you how to do a static mesh. This is a static mesh. It has no armature, it has no animations or anything like this. So a static mesh is just something that doesn't change. So you can do some changes with morph targets, or how it's called in Blender, shape keys, and kind of simulate animations. That's possible with a static mesh, but to change it in Unreal Engine you anyway have to create an actor, and you can't just use the static mesh. So this would be kind of like just a brick wall or something like that, something that is not set in your world, that doesn't change. So with that, if you have made your brick wall or static mesh, you go to File, and here you have Export, and then you see a lot of options. To be honest, a lot of options you see here I added with add-ons. Most of them I need for importing stuff into Blender, not for exporting. For export I use FBX almost every time I create an FBX file. It's the most common one. Unreal Engine can read it. Most other softwares can read it. At least all I know can read it. Of course there are other files that Unreal Engine also can read, but I always use FBX. So then we have to choose in which folder we want to do it. I would recommend it directly put it in your Unreal Engine project, then Unreal Engine immediately realizes that there is a file you can import. So I did that. I made a tutorial project. On the content I created a new folder, and I will put it in here. Here you can change the name so you know what you're uploading. Static mesh. And then the important part comes here. Changes you have to do. This here is the default value. You can create stamps so it will remember it. I will show, like here I created 2 stamps, one for mesh, one for animations. And the only thing you have to do is pressing plus here, then you can give it a name, OK, and then the thing you changed here will be saved. So I won't do that right now, because first we have to do the changes. So first thing here, version, take FBX 7.4 binary. Then here on the main, I would recommend you to press this on selected objects. so you only upload the objects you have selected. Then here, this one you can keep like it is. Then here, only select for a static mesh, only mesh you can select other. Mesh and other, that's enough. Others are curves, points, and so on. If you don't want that, then only press mesh. We don't want any camera or lamp. The rest you can keep it like it is. On the geometries here, apply modifiers. I would recommend you to take this off. If you worked up to this point a lot in Blender, you will maybe have already realized that modifiers and shape keys, they don't work well together. So if you have this on, you can upload the modifiers, but you can't upload any shape keys. Like you see, warning prevents exporting shape keys. And this is something, if you can't upload your shape keys, they won't appear. You may look for a long time, where is the button to put it off or on. So I normally, most of the time, I use shape keys for Unreal Engine. I don't need the modifiers. The modifiers I use to create my 3D meshes, and as soon as they are created, I apply the modifiers and use shape keys and add shape keys, and so I don't need to upload the modifiers. But that's up to you, what you for your object wanna need. I just recommend you to not apply modifiers. Under armatures, we can keep everything like this is. Also here, I would recommend to keep everything as it is. Here, keep everything as it is. Animations, we don't have any animations, so you can press this off, baked animations off, and that's everything. We can now press on export FBX. So in Unreal Engine, you see Unreal Engine detected a change in the source material. You can now import it directly from here. Say import. Be careful with that. If you have more than one mesh you changed, it will tell you that there are 4 or 5 or so changes. Then be careful to import it from here. Then I would recommend you to import everything separately, because otherwise you will get problems with skeletal meshes and physical assets and so on. But for now, if you don't do it over here, you just can press import here and then choose your FBX file. Maybe I will show you that and rather show you how you do this, because I often have problems with importing directly. So you go to your file, you create your folder, and then you find here your FBX static mesh. You can import this. You get here a big list. So normally this one is you don't see it. When you first time upload something, here skeletal mesh, no, don't press this on. But to generate collisions, you can press this on. I will show you about collisions later, or in a moment. Then I would recommend you to look this up. Open this here. This here with static mesh. We don't have a lot of options we have to change. You can keep it as it is right now. and just import all. You can keep the default value for static mesh. You can press import all. Then we get a warning about smoothing and other things. That's okay. Warnings, yellow is not a problem. Red are errors, and that's a problem. And it uploaded our static mesh. We can plus our material. We can open our static mesh. And here it is. It took our material with us. Everything is here. That's how our static mesh looks like. So if you have made a change and you want to import it again, then you export it to the same FBX file. You just loaded it up, so static mesh.fbx for this case, and then you can just press on re-import static mesh and then it will re-import it. Collisions, here you can add collisions, so if you have a brick wall or so, you don't want your character to just move through it, so here you can, as example, change your collisions. Normally it created a collision, a simplified collision here with just a cube. The simplified collision will probably be perfectly on point. If you have a more complex one, you may want to look into collisions and make your own collision. There is an option to make collisions on complex static meshes, and so it will take every vertex. It calculates every vertex into it. Some people I heard said recommend not to do that, to use that to make your own collisions. Where is it? Because it takes a lot of, it can take a lot of resources. If you have a mesh with hundreds of vertexes, then we have already the mesh game has to calculate, and then we have also a collision box with over 100 vertexes. Then it has also to calculate this collision, so many recommend not to use that one. Yeah, here it is. You can make simple collisions, or you see the simple one, but also the complex one has a lot, has already a lot more even for a cube. And that's just what I want to tell you. Many recommend you not to use complex collision. You can do your own collision boxes if you want to, and then you can kind of simplify it. It also often is not needed to have really complex collisions. So I'm back in Blender. I opened up my test dummy I made in one of my streams. I chose this guy because we have already animations, and the top hat has also morph targets on it, so this is perfect to use it. So if you want to upload not a static mesh but a skeletal mesh, a skeletal mesh has an armature that it's rigged on, it has animation and so on. You have to do it a little bit different than static mesh. The first thing you have to do is, I will now not, for now not upload my test dummy here, the blue one. I will only upload the hat because the hat has a shape key or morph target on it. So select the hat, select the armature. You have to select both, otherwise it won't, Unreal Engine won't know that you have a skeletal mesh. It will choose to upload a static mesh instead. Then we do the same export and FBX. After we selected it, we have to put it in the right folder. It's under maps new. Yeah, let's call it test dummy top hat just to be sure. And now here we come back to the important things. In general, it's almost the same like static mesh. The only thing we want here is not only mesh and other, we also want the armature. We choose selected objects because we don't want to upload anything else in the world. Then apply modifiers off. Absolutely here now I have a shape key, so I have to take it off. Armature we can leave. Animations for now I don't want to upload animations. And export FBX file. And when we go to Unreal Engine, this is our static mesh. We see a change in the source data. Now I will import it from here this time. Now it looks a little bit different. Again, default is sub options. You don't see them. Please check skeletal mesh should be on. If this is off, you made a mistake while exporting it. For almost certain you didn't select the armature, or you forgot to rig the armature, your mesh on the armature. What shouldn't happen. But here you can choose the skeleton if you have something. I already have uploaded test dummy. I could not choose my test dummy skeleton. This would work because my top hat and my test dummy skeleton have the same skeleton, but so I can show you now. I will choose nothing, so Unreal Engine will create an asset for your skeleton. Then now we go down here. Important here is import morph targets. This is default, not selected on. If you have morph target shape key selected on, I would recommend you, even if you don't have, upload right now a skeleton mesh with a morph target that you still selected on. Just because you don't forget it later on. I'm almost certain that you, at some point, you will have a skeletal key or a shape key, or how it's called in Unreal Engine, morph target at some point, and you want to upload it, and then you don't remember that you didn't put this on, and you look and you can't find what's the problem. I mean, it happened to me. You can keep import animations on because we already deselected the animations while we exported it, and the rest is okay. I keep the rest as it is on default. Import all. You get the warning, this time a little bit more because we have the whole skeleton mesh again. Yellow is fine, you can't change that. I don't know if that is a problem with Blender only or if you have similar warnings with other 3D softwares. But it doesn't matter too much. Now when you open our test dummy top hat, so first thing I want to show you. So now the problem is I had material 001, I had this 2-time named, so it overwrote this one. That's not ideal, but it doesn't matter for right now. I had 2 materials, so we uploaded both materials. We created a physics asset, and we created test dummy top hat skeleton, and we see here because we uploaded new materials, Unreal Engine is calculating and compiling the shaders for that. So when we go up here, this is how a skeletal mesh looks like. If you do changes on this skeletal mesh, don't forget to export it to the exactly same FBX file, test dummy top hat.fbx, and then you can just press here on re-import mesh and it will do it. On the left side you see the materials and the slots. You can add here more materials and then change the slots. That can be helpful sometimes, but it's not the point of this tutorial right now. On the right side you see our morph targets. So now when we look in here, we see a red warning. The following materials need morph support. Used with morph targets in material editor. And then it gives us this the folder for our two materials we uploaded. Now this, what you have to do to get rid of this is, and that's why I want to show you with morph targets, so I can show you that, is selecting one of the morph targets here and change the value. You have to do this only for one morph target. If you have like 10 different morph targets, it doesn't matter, you just have to do it for one. If you do it for one, Unreal Engine will again calculating your shaders, so you can calculate how the light falls on the material, even if the material form has changed via morph target. After that, the only thing you have to do is press here on save all, so it saves the material. I will do this now. You see here the complete list once to save. So after you compiled and saved everything, you see the warnings are away. Now with the morph targets, this happens sometimes. I don't know if that's a problem with Blender or it is a general problem with Unreal Engine. You see there is no deformation happening even if I click, even if I change the value here. So what to do for that? First thing is saving everything. Loading it up again. If then still nothing happens, you just re-import the mesh again. You didn't do any changes. And now it works. So this is kind of annoying with Unreal Engine, but it's a thing you have to do. Just to recap it, if morph targets don't work, re-import the mesh again and then they will work. Also, if they don't show up, sometimes they don't even show up here, just close the data and open it again after saving, and then again, if it's still not show up, re-import it again and it will show up. This is a bug with Unreal Engine, and you just have to know that it exists and it's not that big of a deal. So we go back to Blender, and this time I will show you how you can just upload animations. For that you only have to select your skeletal mesh. Then we go back to export FBX. We call this a little bit different, test dummy animation. So we have a different FBX file. Now here we have to do some changes. I go to default so I can show you everything. only selected objects, only armature, that's fine. Under geometry, here it doesn't really matter, I still have it off just to be sure. Armature, everything the same. Animation, everything selected. And that's all you have to do different is just under animations and main, you only armature because we don't want to upload the mesh, and under animations everything on. Then we export this FBX file, and this, if it takes a little bit longer than your mesh, then you know you did it right, because animations mostly take a little bit more time to export and import. We have here again the automatic change. Then this is how it looks like for animations. It's a little bit less options you can do. Can of course again select more options. What you have to check is that there is a skeletal mesh selected. We now have it automatically choose test dummy top hat skeleton. If there is nothing here, you can select, of course, another test dummy. Not test dummy, another skeletal mesh if you want to, but you have to select the skeletal mesh, otherwise it will create a new one, and that's not good. If your animations have a different skeletal mesh asset, then your mesh, so keep that in mind to have the same skeleton asset here. Then here I put everything on default. And you can import it all from here. Now after you imported everything here, see we got now 4 animations we uploaded. When we open one of these animations, that's how it looks like. You see on the left the skeleton asset here, you can't change it, I believe. Again, the same here, you can re-import the animation if you made changes. Here, if you have an animation that is for multiple meshes, you can change here the preview. Right now I only have the top hat here. You see on the right all the animation data you have made that is uploaded, all 4 of them. You can change them here. You see this is the idle one, so it moves a little bit, and so on. This is probably the walk. No, this is the walk one. Anyway, and yeah, here you can make changes. So which one was the, sorry, this one is the greetings one. As example, here you can add now morph targets to your animation. This is my morph target greetings when the hat goes up, and can now here change the values during the animation with right mouse button. And you see you can bring the hat up at the right point and bring it back down. Then you have to save it, and that's all to it. Final thing I want to show you is how to upload everything together. Your skeletal mesh and your animation. So that's what I mean with everything together. I personally don't do that often because I kind of want to keep the animations and the skeletal mesh separated. Often the animations take so much time to export and import. If you have, I mean, now it was a little bit faster because we only have 4 animations, but when you have 10-20 animations and a more complex skeletal mesh, this may take a lot longer. You can use that if a professional makes the mesh and the animations for you, then you have maybe everything in one pack, and then it's useful to, and you don't do changes by yourself, you can just upload everything on your own. That's why I will show you how to do it. Again, go on File, Export FBX, if everything is selected you want to have uploaded. Again, choose how you want to call it. Let's just call this all.fbx, and let's go here to the default value. Again, selected, we want armature, mesh, and others. We don't want the camera lamp or anything. It anyway won't work for Unreal Engine. No modifiers, so we can upload shape keys. Animations on, armature, we keep everything the same, and animations on, and that's all, everything. So the difference is just really animations here. And then we export it, and we see it takes a moment. So I created a new folder, and here I will import everything. It again created, not created, but it suggests us skeletal mesh. I want to do now a new one, so I deselect it here. That's what I forgot to say last time, so let's check. Import morph targets is on, that's okay. Create physical asset, you can keep this off, or you can select here an already existing physical asset, depending on what you want to do. The rest you keep the same. So this kinda looks more, like the skeletal mesh, not like the animations. And important, import animations on, and then you can select on import all, and it will import the complete package, the mesh. It will create the skeletal mesh asset. It will, if you have selected it on, create a physical asset. It will create all the animations. It will give you this warning like always, and so on. And it didn't put it in this folder, it put it in this folder because of course it did. And that's why that's now really good. That's why I don't like this button here. Because it imports the FBX in the folder you have saved the FBX, and sometimes like this time you don't really want it, so you press on this import, and when you put everything in from here, import all, then it will drop everything in the folder you have selected and not in the folder you have saved the FBX. That's also important to tell you. So now it managed to do it. You want to compare the shader and things like that, and you see everything is here. Material, our mesh I've selected, I have only selected the head, and here all the animations. It made a physical asset, it made an extra skeleton, and that's all I want to say about this tutorial. It took longer than already long. I said it's short, but it's long. There's still a lot to explain through everything, so I rather explain it and make it a little bit longer and make a little bit longer tutorial so you really understand it. And if you have still questions or anything or so, maybe something is still unclear, please leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching.